getting it done once again at 135 pounds.
We are back on the show. John Pollock here alongside John Ramdeen and Cody Saftik, and we're going to take a peek at the prelims that are happening Saturday in Denver. And a quick glance of these fights, guys. I don't think any calls will be made to the authorities about this undercard being on fire. But we do have two key fights, one being what we just saw off the top there involving bantamweights Aljamain Sterling and Raphael Assunção.
Cool.
Both who had been on significant win streaks coming off of losses. Aljamain Sterling last May to Brian Caraway, and with Raphael Assunção against TJ Dillashaw back at UFC 200 as Dillashaw avenged that loss. It's an important fight because we have talked about how deep that bantamweight class is, that 2 losses in a row, and that is detrimental to either of these two if they have hopes of that upper echelon at 135 pounds. This is, to me, one of the more intriguing fights on the card, period.
Yeah, luckily for these guys, you get a win over Assunção or Aljamain Sterling. You're kind of the fourth guy, because when we look at the 135 pounds, essentially it's the new champion Cody Garbrandt, TJ Dillashaw, the former champion, and the former champion Dominic Cruz. That's the logjam right now at 135 pounds. So the race is for the number 4 spot. Is that Aljamain Sterling? Is it Assunção? Is it Thomas Almeida? Is it Brian Caraway? So the
man everyone forgets.
It's true. So the object of the game is, if you're Sterling or Assunção, you have to look good, because you just never know. The reality show happens, and it should be Cody Garbrandt and TJ Dillashaw, but we know the name of the game. Somebody gets hurt. So both of these guys, they have to take this fight like it's a championship fight. They've got to look good if they want to be considered a front runner for the 135-pound title.
I think as well, when you look at these two guys, and I hate making excuses for fighters, but I will make excuses for both of them. In Assunção's last fight, people forget that he's coming off a near 2-year-long layoff due to injuries, and now you're getting thrown back in the mix against TJ Dillashaw on a huge platform like UFC 200. We didn't see the best version of Raphael Assunção that night. Flip side to that, you've got the funk master Aljamain Sterling. Obviously he's talented, obviously he's flashy, but in many ways he had that Bellator contract negotiation going. People didn't know if he was going to sign for UFC. He was expressing interest in the free agent market. He comes back after re-signing, and they threw him in a more or less quick turnaround fight against Brian Caraway. I think he was kind of overlooking Caraway, and as a result, he got fatigued. Show me this kid with a full gas tank, and it's going to be hard in Denver and altitude. But show me this kid on point, and I think he's as good as any bantamweight currently competing. Raphael Assunção is obviously a proven competitor. So if we get a better version of both guys, and that's what I'm expecting, then this is a very tightly contested matchup and should provide the next contender at bantamweight.
Yeah, and it's a great point bringing up that Assunção layoff, because prior to that injury, I mean, this was a guy that beat Brian Caraway in Halifax, of all places, and completely forgotten at this point. I think most would slot Brian Caraway above Assunção at this point, even though that result exists. Sterling believes his wrestling will be a key factor here, which is tough to say when TJ Dillashaw had fits with Assunção and trying to take him down.
And that's trying to figure out what type of fighter you're getting with Raphael Assunção. It's impossible. The guy's been around for too long. He's faced too many good fighters. If you think you're going to out-wrestle him, you may be able to get him down to the ground, but he's going to try to find a way back up. If he can't find a way back up, he's going to look to sweep or submit you. He is very, very good in every single area, but expect him, before this fight becomes a grappling match, he will do his best to try to knock out Aljamain Sterling.
We also have a middleweight fight on the prelims involving Smiling Sam Alvey, who's looking for his 4th consecutive win. He is going to be taking on tough and durable Nate Marquardt, who you had an opportunity to speak to this week. This is someone that does train in Colorado, but someone that has certainly been through the wars.
We all recognize how good Nate Marquardt is. He's been around for such a long time. He's fought for a UFC championship. He's been paired with some of the biggest names in the sport. One of the strange things that he said to me is that he's like, you know what, I don't consider my growth in mixed martial arts. I'm not looking for new tools. I'm just trying to refine things. Now that is a little scary, because you would expect all fighters competing at the highest level to be growing. But maybe it's more of like the Robbie Lawler mentality, where it's like, you know what, I know how to fight. I have a lot of bouts under my belt. The idea now is just to become as proficient and is technically sound in every single area. And based on what we've seen from Nate Marquardt, if he lands he lands the punch, he circles out, he knows how to fight. When he's on, there are very few people in the world that are better than Nate Marquardt. It's just going to be one of those nights.
We will find out on Saturday as Nate Marquardt meets Sam Alvey, and we will have coverage throughout the weekend up at FightNetwork.com, where you can follow along with all of the action. And of course, you can follow us on all of our various platforms, including Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and of course, Instagram. It's FightNetwork.com, your one-stop shop for all mixed martial arts news.